My name is Emma, and I'm on the operations team for the Division of Outdoor Recreation. So thanks again for joining us for today's Summit Speaker Series. Today we'll be hearing from Pitt Grew, who is the head of public land partnerships for AllTrails. Pitt's been working in the outdoor industry for 20 years, from resort operations to public service. He's always focused on helping people get outside, find a connection with our public lands. In this role, he is helping land managers reach AllTrail users with critical information and get access to important trail user data trends to keep people safe and protect our public lands. Before joining AllTrails, Pitt served as the director of the Division of Outdoor Recreation here. He loves working with the many outdoor recreation stakeholders to increase funding, harbor collaboration, and educate communities on the benefits of getting outside. He's always up for adventure on a trail, a river, a cliff face, or in the snow, and I guess today on top of a mountain. So thanks everyone again for joining us for this series. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Pitt.
Thanks, Emma. Appreciate it. Hi, everybody. It's good to see some familiar names and not seeing many faces, but again, good to see some familiar names and connect with some of you, and appreciate the Division of Outdoor Recreation for giving us an opportunity to chat about this today. And part of this really is because, you know, I run into many of you and a lot of different folks around the state still with some of the service that I do, and they ask, what am I up to? And for the last year, it's been, you know, pretty quiet as far as what I've been doing, and we're about to kind of more publicly launch this project, and we wanted to show, and I wanted to take an opportunity here to show kind of the impacts and the importance of this project and kind of helping land managers in our public lands and outdoor recreation enthusiasts out there. So I appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak today and talk with all of you. I'm going to run through, I'm going to do a lot of talking here for the first bit, and then run through some slides. And but at any point, please put questions in the chat and let me know. We'll try to get to them as much as we can and we have time for. Also going to have one of our partners, the Salt Lake City Public Lands, jump in here at the end as well and talk about this program that we've been kind of piloting and working with them on as well. So that being said, we'll jump right into it here. So here's a picture of me trying to look heroic and smile, even though I was probably sweating and suffering in the mountains of Wyoming. But my new title is the head of public lands partnerships. And so we're going to talk a lot about what the public land program is and how we're partnering across that. So it's obvious that, you know, this is a pretty obvious statement, but with the rising number of visitors to public lands, right, an increase of online trail information, social media, all of that, all of those kinds of resources that people use, land managers continue to cite concerns with third-party apps. That could mean their map, the information is incorrect. It could be, you know, part of just, you know, ease of use can be a difficult thing for people to swallow, because now people are getting out there less informed, or with getting into places where they don't have the experience or whatnot. So what drew me to this position at AllTrails and to leave working for the state was I felt that there was a great place to make an impact here, to really reach end users with pertinent information, as well as help educate people to become stewards of our public lands. You know, many of you remember, you know, maybe I worked with you at some point where during the pandemic, you know, we had an influx of people getting out and recreating and going to public lands. And the question we were all scratching our heads, working with land managers, working with everybody else, was, hey, how do we educate the people, or, you know, get people aware of the dangers or whatever, if these are new people that we haven't normally communicated with, right? We had our channels through outdoor media, maybe through, you know, organizations and nonprofits that can help share this information out. But what we were finding is there was a lot of people that were just coming to public lands and had never actually interacted with outdoor media or these other sources where we'd usually get out education or leave no trace ethics or any of that. So how do we reach those people? Well, one of the solutions for this is what are the private entities that are having an impact on reaching these people? Third-party apps are that, right? So this is AllTrails, Trailforks, Gaia, Strava, Onyx, all these different apps. I'm sure all of you use one of these, or if you're like me, you use multiple of these, depending on what your activity is or what you're going out to do. But right, these are the people, this is where people are getting their information. This is where the majority of people are planning their days out or their time on the trail. So what needs to come from organizations like this or private entities like this to help reach and better educate people? So at AllTrails, I know, and I can't speak for the other companies, unfortunately, but I can speak for AllTrails and what we've been working on. But AllTrails right now is the most trusted and used platform for trail information in the world. The app helps people discover and navigate, find places far away and in their neighborhood. Our goal at AllTrails, right, is to kind of manage or own the whole journey for somebody. So like we want to be a place where people can come and get inspired and discover new places. We also want to make sure we have the information where they can do the research and planning that will help keep them safe and be prepared. We want to help them on the trail when they're out there, right? How to navigate, where to go, all of that kind of stuff. And then the end of the process, we'd love their feedback. How was their experience? What did they learn? What can they share with a community of people to let them know what is going on out there on the trails? So we're trying to manage all this journey. Now, not everybody uses it to the full extent. Some people use AllTrails specifically for just this phase one to like find new places, and then they go out and use other resources. Or maybe they use it for just the post engagement side of things, right? Where I just check AllTrails to like check trail conditions because I know somebody's reported it in the last few days and I can look and see what the comments are. However that is, that's fine, right? Like using this, like we want to be a resource, but ultimately we want to make sure that it is a resource across the whole journey. So when we say we're the largest and most trusted, here's the numbers to kind of back that up. We have over 60 million users worldwide. We have over 1 billion miles of recordings, of user recordings. So 1 billion miles of data of people tracking themselves out on trail systems. We're 400,000 curated trails and routes. And again, we were made App of the Year by Apple last year, which was really cool to see just because it's cool to see Apple give App of the Year to an app that's trying to help people get outside and enjoy nature, as opposed to, all the other millions and millions of apps that are in the App Store. So what does that mean for Utah? In Utah alone, we have over 3,000 routes, right, and trails that people can discover. That's a lot. It's a lot of information. We're one of the most densely like trails on our platform, in the country. You can see number 8 here in the US. We have over 6.5 million miles of recorded data. So people using us to track their mileage, their elevation, keep track of where they are on the map, everything else like that. So a lot of data on where people are going, which is cool and is part of this program. So we can help land managers with that. And then a lot of feedback from users out on the trail. Over 200,000 reviews in 2023. These are people telling us what the conditions were like on the trail, what they thought about the trail. Was it really strenuous or was it easy? Like, was the information correct? All of that. So we have a good feedback loop of collecting information and also, kind of getting a larger scope of what's happening on the ground on trail systems. So because of that, that's where we bring in the introduction of the public lands program. So I've told this story 100 times. I'm sorry if you maybe heard this, but as Emma mentioned, I was working in the Division of Outdoor Recreation prior to this position. And I actually reached out directly to AllTrails at the time. This was maybe, 3 years ago. I was like, look, I know a lot of people are using your app. Can I buy some data or get some information on you on where people are going, what they're doing? That would just really help us. My interest in that was it would help us with our grant program where, we had a lot of people asking for money to assist in trail projects. It would help us have a little more data to make better decisions on where, what projects are best to fund and ready to fund. Selfishly, it was for me so I could walk up to the legislature on the Hill, especially during the session like this time of year and be like, hey, I have hard data showing that like this many people are using this trail, we need more money into our grant fund, or we need more money into the division to help support the recreational users out there. I reached out to AllTrails, had this question. They're like, look, we won't sell you any data. We're not in the business of selling data, but we are in the business of helping organizations like yours and public land managers, and we're working on a project to do that. Fast forward a few months, maybe a year and a half, and here I am as this program is starting to take off to help push this program around, because I saw such a need to help land managers, and that AllTrails could help support that. So what is the Public Lands Program? Basically, what we do with the Public Lands Program is if you're a land manager or an organization that is helps to steward or manage trail systems, we give you access to those trails, the back-end access to those trails on AllTrails. What does that mean? So you can log in the same as an admin here, home in our office at AllTrails, and see how many people, or you can get data insights into what people are doing, how people are using your trails, how many page views, how people are reacting, how many comments, all that. Kind of some of that data that I shared earlier, but specific to your trails. You can then also do trail management. So this is update the information that's on AllTrails. We hear that a lot. We know that the information we have about every trail isn't perfect, right? Maybe we're missing some critical information about the parking or the trailhead location. Maybe we're missing, maybe the route line is off a little bit, leading people astray, whatever it is. So we give the people on the ground that manage these trails the opportunity to edit and change that to make sure that correct information is getting out to the public. We also want to provide a way, like I said, like the most important way to educate people and help people become stewards is to reach them where they are consuming the information. Again, we know a lot of people are getting their information about trails and public lands from our platform. So we want to help you connect with them. What can you do? Is there a closure? Is there a warning? Is there leave no trace principles you want to put on here? Maybe it's specific information about, trail use in the desert in a very sensitive area. All of that. We want to help you reach those people with that information. So we want you to use AllTrails as a platform to reach the public, and help educate on that. And then, of course, partnering with us, and we'll talk about this a little further, and it's kind of what Salt Lake City is doing, where, how can we help make your life easier, again, with helping people find your trails, communicate to them that information, and keep them informed, and then, get some feedback from them as well of how their experience is going on the trail. So that's kind of the basic of it, but ultimately it's a free program. You can log in, see data insights, that may be useful for you to advocate for, and then edit the content on there and set alerts to help communicate to people. We're going to jump into what we've learned in the last year with some of our partners, to show kind of the impact of each of these. We have been, this program has been live for over a year. We have about 250 partners on board now. And so we have worked with anything from the National Park Service down to a community trail system that's managing a few trails on their parks, or a small land trust or something like that, right? So that's the other joy of this is, no trail is more important than the other, because the most important trail is the one that's the most important to that community, right? Like if it's your afternoon walk or your go clear your head walk, that trail is just as important as Angel's Landing is in Zion National Park, right? We want to make sure that that information is accurate and that people can connect with that where they are. So that's why we work with such a large scale of partners and land managers through this program. So how are people using this information? That's what I want to talk about next is really what is it that draws people to participate this and take the time to do this. Because a lot of the questions we get is like, this is great, but AllTrails is just one platform. I don't have time to update every platform and try to get some information out. And we fully agree with you. But again, like we're saying, AllTrails, can be a great tool in your entire strategy to help reach the public and help educate the public as well. We're not going to solve every problem, but we are a great tool to hopefully do that. And we want to make sure that as part of that, as part of participating in this, that you're also getting some benefit out of this other than just reaching the public, and that is through visitor insights and that data dashboard and things that we share. So for the past year, or the past little while, I should say, again, we brought on a bunch of partners of all different size and growth. One of them was the Maryland State Forests, right? So they have a whole bunch of state forests they manage. They had years of backlogged trail maintenance. Sound familiar? I think everybody probably can relate to that. Overgrown trails, they were impassable, definitely just needed some maintenance, right? Well, as part of that, they needed to also know where to start. It's kind of daunting to say, we need money, but then also you're like, well, which one gets priority? Where do we start on this huge project, right? So first was the secure funding to hire dedicated trail maintenance staff. So that was kind of the goal of Maryland State Forest. They wanted to secure a grant to be able to do this. So they were able to use data their data that they've collected, combination of some of the stuff they got from AllTrails to go out, apply for this grant and get some funding. Great. They got this funding with support of, again, some of our data and usage. They were awarded this 3-year trail maintenance grant, established continuous funds and dedicated staff so they could really tackle some of these projects and stay consistent with them. What then they used, like here, is this kind of a snapshot of the data dashboard that we provide if you're participating in the public lands program. So what they were able to say is like, all right, which trails are getting the most views? What's kind of the average trail rating? We gave them give them access to heat maps so you can see where people are going, at least AllTrails users, where they're going on your trail systems. And then you also get like a digest of like the most recent comments and things like that. So they had access to all of this, so they could help that. So once they got this funding, got their staff up, then they used the public lands program to ensure efficient deployment of these trail maintenance resources by monitoring this AllTrails data and the trends and the heat map. And then they were able to log so many maintenance hours on 100 miles of trails across these forests because they were just efficient in deploying their resources here and using this data to really target where the needs are, where the feedbacks are, where the community was really talking to them. So, just super beneficial for them as they, want to hopefully go and apply for another grant or get more funding at the end of this 3 years, continue this project going forward. They can show, how efficient this is and how they move forward. So the second aspect of this, we'll jump in and answer questions about the data dashboard and things like that because we have a lot of exciting things coming with that in the future. But the other aspect of this is then the kind of the direct communication to the public. So there's definitely a benefit to getting this data insights and the data dashboard, but then again, the goal here was how can AllTrails contribute to helping make its users and any users that come across AllTrails, how can we help contribute to making them stewards of our public lands and our trail spaces? How do we help people, how do we help people become the people that help us preserve access and preserve the creation and maintenance of our trail systems? So let's talk local here. Well, local to Utah. One of the earliest partners has been Grand County down in Moab, right? And for many of you, that Moab is a busy place. 2 national parks, incredible public lands, both BLM, Forest Service. Moab is busy for sure. And most people going to Moab are going to recreate in some way, shape, or form out on public lands. Well, Grand County had the forward thought many years ago to form this, what used to be called Trail Mix. Now it's the Grand County Trail Committee, and they've created a fantastic trail stewardship program where they have volunteers and staff that go out and help to educate people. We are hosting a really great kind of webinar trail talk, which I'll have information for you at the end of this But Grand County is going to present next week to talk about their trail stewardship program and how they've done it. I highly encourage you to listen to Anna and Maggie about, kind of that program and the successes they've had there. Anyway, we have had Grand County's been a partner for a good amount of time here, almost the whole time that we've had the public lands program available. And so obviously they're dealing with many issues, but with the rising number of visitors navigating Grand County's trails, it was difficult to ensure that the visitor received the most up-to-date information, especially as seasons changed, or conditions changed, everything like that. And so what this was doing was causing obviously a large strain on search and rescue in the sheriff's office. This was causing more conflict, not only between locals and visitors, but anybody using the trails, because all of a sudden now there was somebody riding their bike up the down part of a mountain bike trail, or they were somebody was hiking in a place where maybe there was peregrine falcon nesting restrictions or something like that, right? So it caused, how do we prevent these conflicts? How do we prevent this kind of misuse and do it? So Grand County came on. They came on strong, and they've been a great partner. Their goal was to update all the trail information and add alerts to AllTrails to help reduce negative user interactions on their trails. They realized that a lot of people visiting that national park as well are discovering those trails on AllTrails while they're sitting wherever their home is, and then coming to Utah to travel that. So if they could reach people in their planning process with this information on AllTrails, that would be super helpful. So Grand County went in and did a lot of great things. Again, here's a snapshot of kind of access to what they have, where you can go in and edit a route. So when we say edit a route, what does that mean? This blue line, like you can edit where it goes. If you need to redraw that, you can change the name. You can change all these tags, right? Is it a point to point? Is it moderate or hard? Is it a busy trail or a not so busy trail? All the different activities, like all this stuff, basically a partner comes on, they have access to edit and change to hopefully, communicate that to the AllTrails user. But ultimately what they use it for, I mean, there was a handful of things where they renamed trails that matched better with what sheriff's office knew. So when search and rescue happened, instead of people saying, I don't know, I'm on the trail that AllTrails calls this, and the search and rescue team going, I don't know where that is. They got a little more consistency across the board on trail naming and everything else. They essentially set 118 different alerts on trails, and this crossed jurisdiction boundaries. So this trail team helps to manage trails on BLM and Forest Service land. So just a ton of trail systems and trail routes there. They made 478 edits. This is over the last year. They've done this, enhancing the quality of trail information on AllTrails. So what was the impact here? They improved the safety of trail goers and encourage responsible recreation. There's a lot of messaging if you look up their stuff on AllTrails around, leave no trace or responsible recreation. All of this just helping people get educated about, hey, you're coming to the desert. These are things you need to be aware of. These are things you need to prepare for. And here's the way you need to leave it when you're done. As well as the safety side of things. It's been a huge success for them. Again, I encourage you, like, if you want to hear more about how they've been using it, we'll share information about Anna's webinar, and she can go into real specifics of this combined with their trail steward program and their volunteers and the on-the-ground information that they hand out. All of this has really made an impact on the trails down in Moab. All right. Reaching your audience is the third pillar of this program. And basically, I want to, again, I've said this over and over again, but ultimately, the people have the best trail experience when they have the most accurate information needed. Somebody can go and hike the most amazing trail in the world, but if they had been reading the wrong information for the week leading up to that, and they get there and it's different from their expectations, they may be like, yeah, it was okay, or like I didn't enjoy that at all because I was totally expecting something else. So where we can help like reach the audience with what to expect, it's so easy for a person's trail day to be ruined because they can't find a parking place, or they show up and they didn't have the permit they needed. They didn't know they needed a permit. Or maybe they brought their friendly dog and get there and find out you can't take a dog there, right? Like just those little things make people's trail day, which could be magical and help them connect with the land and connect with the trail and area, and quickly bitter their attitude or kind of ruin it for them. So we want to make sure that we can reach the audience with the most pertinent information. So for the public lands program, right? Obviously, high visitation numbers through the pandemic and beyond. It came to drive home the importance of ensuring that the correct information reaches visitors. Again, another one of our early partners that came on was Olympic National Park. And they saw this as an opportunity to really communicate in some key locations that were causing issues for visitors and causing issues for kind of the land managers. So the goal here with this case study, oh, and let me add this real quick. All of these like stats that we're talking about, they're case studies that we have on our website. So you can go and kind of read into the details more about how they were using these details of the impacts of these partners. We have 5 case studies total that we've worked out recently, and I think they're all insightful to many different types of organizations and kind of sizes of agencies. But the goal for Olympic National Park was to improve the quality information on routes. If any of you visited Olympic National Park, or for that sake, there's a lot of national parks close to here as well, where there's a lot of seasonal closures, or due to weather or snow, or there may be in the shoulder season, it's unsure exactly when that road's going to open or when that trailhead or that that activity is going to be fun. And we want to make sure that that information is correct, because what was happening, and again, this is not unique to Olympic, but what was happening, right, is somebody's looked at maybe a picture on AllTrails or maybe another blog or something like that and said, that trail looks amazing. Not thinking, but my trip's in April. And when I show up in April and expect to see sun shining and beautiful creek, and I'm in my tennis shoes and my flip-flops or my chacos, and then they're like, oh, there's still a foot of snow here. Like, I'm in trouble. Or maybe I'm trying to reach this trailhead in a car that isn't appropriate for getting to it in that season, all of that, right? So these were the ongoing issues that many people deal with. And in Olympic National Park, it was really causing strife on search and rescue teams and everything else, and for the visitor experience. So what they did is they came on, they didn't, there's a lot of trails in Olympic National Park, so they didn't have the ability to edit and change everything and put focus on that. But they were able to look at the data dashboard, see, all right, are these our most popular trails according to AllTrails users, and then also from their own data to see, we know that this is a troublesome trail during certain seasons, or a lot of people are showing up here. So combining that and using AllTrails as a tool, they're able to identify some real hot spots that they can work on. So they log into the AllTrails public lands program, and you can set a quick alert. These alerts are sweet. They only take like 30 seconds to set, but basically you can choose like, all right, are we closing this trail? Are we adding a danger alert or an informational alert, whatever? You put a quick paragraph in there and even a link out to what, if there's a link out needed. So for an example here, informational alert. Hey, you can't do this trail unless you have a permit. Here's a link to apply for a permit or get a permit. Super easy, but imagine these alerts pop up at the top of every trail page, or the trail page that they're set on. So somebody that is exploring it and saying, hey, I want to do this trail, they get a quick shot and a quick notice that says, this is what you need to prepare for that. Don't just show up there in your chacos and expect to have a great day. So Olympic National Park set 33 alerts and made a handful of edits, strategically focused on their high traffic areas. This is specific, like I said, to places where maybe road closures were, or maybe the road was open, but conditions are still rough in the shoulder season or something. what is done in correlation since they have done this, in this last year. This past year, they saw a 66% decrease in search and rescue related incidents on those trails that they focused on. They saw a 62% decrease in search and rescue incidents across, all the routes on AllTrails, by, implementing these edits and working with us to get that information out. So, this is the type of thing where it's like we can see an impact, we can see a change. We hope to, see this across all different agencies and all the different partners that we work with, not just to decrease search and rescue, but then maybe the priority is, land conservation, or, there's a lot of off-trail routes going or something like that, or building or forming. So hopefully we see this number as like we can see a decrease in, off-trail route or damage to vegetation and fauna as well. So, think about this is it's like how important it is that we can get alerts out to people to get this information that's needed. The other aspect of these alerts, not just for reducing that, but again, the improving the experience for the person. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, how frustrating is it when you show up to a parking lot or a trailhead and then you realize I need a permit for this? Like, I didn't know that. Now do I need to go find where I can get a permit? Are there any permits available for today? Or do I now have to scramble to find another place to go on a hike this morning? Again, it just makes the experience better, makes it smoother, helps people have the best experience then to connect with that place as well. Our alerts are, again, we can use it for many different things. Closure, this is way important if there's trail maintenance going on, maybe there's a seasonal closure, all of that. Danger, or maybe there's wildlife in the area, or, bear or bobcats and lions and, whatever, like how can we make sure that is mentioned, people to take care of. And then again, the informational alerts. The last thing about these alerts that's really cool is we can kind of mass apply alerts. So you can pick multiple trails in an area. Maybe there's a wildfire and we need to close down, 10, 15 trails in an area. Great, we can set those in kind of one shot as opposed to going into them individually, as well as setting start dates and end dates. So maybe it's a seasonal alert that occurs every year because of, wildlife habits or something like that. Great, set it once, and then every year it'll pop up from June 1st to July 1st, right? This trail's closed for nesting or something like that, whatever you want to do. So really cool, really helpful, just to communicate to the public. Okay, so we're going to jump into this real quick, but I want to address some questions before I have Tyler from Salt Lake City Public Lands talk about kind of how they've been using it. So I am going to stop my share for a minute and read some of these questions, and hopefully I can address some of them. So question number one, sorry, I almost started at the bottom. I don't want to do that. So when you have here's the first question. When you have multiple agencies who might want to add information about a trail, such as search and rescue, maybe the BLM, you have multiple owners, admins of those trails, right? Parties can update. Correct, right? We can have multiple people. We can assign trails to multiple agencies if that's the case. What we have found through a lot of partners, and thanks, CC, for kind of answering that. And I know CC's been jumping in here a little bit. What we found with multiple partners is oftentimes the larger federal agencies and maybe some of the state agencies, things like that, don't have the bandwidth to assign somebody to do this. And that's the hard part about it. They want to, they see the benefit, but they don't have the bandwidth to do that. That's why we've also opened it up to organizations, whether it's a nonprofit organization, maybe it's a county, organization, or a city organization, something like that, that may have the other resources or can help contribute to that. So in that case, right, we can assign it to the nonprofit organization, like let's say a Trails Utah that's helping to steward trails along the Wasatch Front and other parts of the state and things like that. And then they can have access to help and assist maybe the agency to keep this information up to date. So yeah, we're pretty flexible and all that. We can have as many people as you want on there as well. If you want to add seasonal workers, that maybe this is part of their role as a seasonal trail worker, to do that, no problem, and they can have access to this as well. Next question: when there's a partial closure of a route, is there a way to highlight that section on a map to users? We've noticed that users are misinterpreting the info despite our best efforts described. Yeah, that's a great question. John from my team as well. John and Cece are on, and I can see they're answering questions here. So thanks for jumping in on here. But yeah, these are the kind of things that we've been working on with partners now that have that we've been on board for a year or so now. They're starting to use it, running into situations like this, and that's the exact kind of feedback we need, so then we can go and improve this program to address that. Just to add a little bit to that, right? Like that kind of feedback, great. We can put on our roadmap, hopefully make that a possibility in the future. Same thing has come from like our data dashboard. So we gave you access to certain simple aspects and data points that you can see. Well, we've got a lot of feedback from that, right? Like, this data dashboard is great. It lets me know how many people are looking at page views, but a lot of questions are like, I want to know, who are these people visiting? Are they locals? Are they out of towners? Right? We've got to be careful with the data that we share. We're not here to share any private or proprietary data or anything with anybody, but we want to show the overall trends. And so because of that, we're now right in the process. In the next few weeks to a month, our data dashboard will be updated to show all these kind of new insights, whether that's are these locals or out of towners that are visiting your trails? What are the themes that we're seeing through, potential or through comments, right? Are we picking up any themes? Are we picking up, a certain topic that people keep talking about that maybe needs to be alerted to you, as well as new trails being added, or is there a new route that people are discussing, or things like that. So again, this is why we call it a partnership, because you're helping us to make this better. We're here to serve you and help you have this as a great tool, and we want to make this tool really useful so you can integrate it into there. All right. So yeah, here's the question. We get this question a lot. Do agencies have the ability to delete an entry for a trail? Think of someone discovering an area and very sensitive, endangered nesting, etc. The name doesn't want to become trampled. So this is a really common question. So thanks for asking it. And sometimes it's kind of the elephant in the room when we're talking with agencies or with land managers. So these third-party apps, us included, right? We have routes that maybe aren't an official trail. Now, doesn't mean that it's an illegal trail, right? But we also have trails on there that may be illegal. So in the case of like saying, hey, this crosses a sensitive area, or maybe it's an unsafe route, and we really want to, discourage people from being there, all of that, we totally are open to have that discussion. In the portal, we don't allow you to go in and just delete routes. So if you're using the program, you don't have that power to do it. That doesn't mean that you can't get rid, you can't delete it or we can't adjust it. It just means that it's something that we as a team talk with you about, and you work with your account manager or myself to have that. I will say that in the case that it's a trail that breaks the law, right? It's crossing private property, or something like that. Yeah, that's easy. Let us know. We get those removed pretty quickly and right away. In the case that it's an area that, is legal for people to go to, right? It's their public lands, but maybe it's a sensitive area or maybe a dangerous area or something like that. What we'll work with you on is ensuring that we're the most useful to educating the public. So in a lot of cases, right, there's a route, and that route is already on 7 different platforms already, right? We realize, and I just, bragged kind of earlier in this presentation that we're the biggest and we have the most people and everything else. So in that case, is it best to delete it off of our platform, or is it best to mark it closed and educate the public on why it's closed and whatnot? Those are the kind of discussions we have. And each we kind of do it as on a one-off basis to make sure we're making the right decision. I can give you an example of this, of where we've done this in the past. So the haiku stairs in Hawaii, right? Really popular. Once it hit Instagram, everybody had to go do it and get their picture. Well, the state of Hawaii, they closed that down. They put up a fence, please don't pass, whatever. And they said, hey, can you remove this from AllTrails? Well, what we came to an agreement with them is, look, the haiku stairs are on every social media, YouTube, every blog that any blogger that's been to Hawaii has posted about it, right? There's a lot of information out there. So is it most impactful if we remove it and so people just don't see it on our platform, but they find it elsewhere and that's where they get the information? Or is it best because of our reach and we have really strong SEO? So a lot of times if people search haiku stairs, right, we're probably one of the first results to come back in Google. So in that case, do we change it to just closed and make sure that the information is like, hey, you'll be fined, do not do this, do not cross the fence, blah, blah, and use it as an educational point? For the most part, that seems to be working. Again, it's not perfect. You still have people that violate and whatnot. So that's, again, where we have that conversation with you on an individual basis, depending on your location and kind of best practices moving forward. Next question. Does AllTrails communicate with OpenStreetMap in any capacity? Yes. So this is appreciate these questions. You guys are right on with, kind of the most common questions here. John answered this well. We have a great partnership with OpenStreetMaps. We communicate with them on a regular basis. We help them, kind of create this trail stewardship initiative, or worked with them on this, where they are focusing on Utah actually as kind of their start of this trail stewardship initiative. And so we don't have any control over editing the content on OSM. You all do. Anybody can go in and edit that information, which is helpful. When you edit the information on OSM, I think it's impactful because there's a lot of platforms that use that as their base maps. So when you edit it on OSM, hopefully that carries across to multiple platforms, which is helpful. We've worked with them to use some layers that we do to change kind of color coding. So you may see OSM routes on AllTrails that are red or blue, and those have specific meanings, right? Like it's crossing private property or whatever, to let people know and educate about that. So we continue to work with them. Not to go into too much detail, but we are always in communication with them to help update that information. And they're grateful for that because they want to make sure they have the most accurate information as well. So a combination of maybe, private companies like us and also the land managers on the ground, hopefully that OSM data continues to improve and get better, as we go. All right, Scott's got a question. If you create a partnership for an area between local land managers, trail or community orgs, could each have different access on the back end in terms of what they can update? Yeah, we have done a little bit of this. So we have worked with a handful of like destination marketing organizations that really aren't interested in editing trail information. They want to leave that up to the land managers, but they are really fascinated in seeing some of the data insights, right? So we can give them access and say, hey, here's the data insights. This is all you need to worry about. As well as they're like interested in some of these like partnership things that we're doing, which I'll talk about here in just a minute, where they want to use us to help promote the trails in their area, and we provide some resources for them. And then also some of these organizations are only interested in maybe getting an alert out about a special event. Maybe you got a trail event coming or a bike event coming or something like that. So hopefully they can also as a partner, even though again they're not super interested in the trail information editing, they are able to communicate to the public. Okay, I'm going to stop answering questions for a second. If we have some time after Tyler, I'll try to jump back in and maybe answer one or two more if anybody has them. But to intro Tyler, if any of you know Tyler, Tyler is the head of Salt Lake City Public Lands. They have been heading up the huge project on the Foothills project, as many of you may have read in media over the years and whatever has been happening there. Tyler's been the head of that, and we've been working with Tyler for about the past year and his team on how we can assist them with data and with resources to hopefully help them in a lot of that foothill project. So I wanted him to take just a minute to talk about the progress they've made, how they've used the public lands program a little bit to help them in their overall arching project. Again, the goal here is we want to be a tool for you to all accomplish your goals and things like that. We're not the one-stop shop, solve every problem you have, but we want to be a tool that you can use that will just help refine how you manage your trails and everything else. And I think Salt Lake City Public Lands has been a great example of that, of really using us in the best way. So Tyler, if you want to share your screen or whatever and take it away, you've got some time.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Tyler Fonero. I'm the Recreational Trails Manager for Salt Lake City Public Lands. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Can one of you all it's not letting me do that, Pitt. Just a little bit of background. We came in with a lot of desire to be a partner, but we just didn't have the trail network yet. So we're kind of backwards from maybe many of you. We have a lot of unplanned trail system in the Salt Lake City foothills, which has been part of what Pitt's alluding to, which is the planning process to define what is a trail and what is not a trail on our trail system. So we actually have a lot of trail usage in the foothills that are, thank you, Katie. There we go, right there. I'm going to share this. A lot of trails in our foothills, but they're not signed. They weren't intentionally built, with the exception of one, our major artery, which is the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, and a couple offshoots. So what we decided to do was go into utilizing instead of having the ability to actually build out a whole trail site for ourselves, we were trying to leverage the resources that AllTrails has with the trail data that's already out there. And what we did in the foothills, it's a little bit hard to see here. We created these zones in our foothills. So there's 6,000 acres of open space, and we broke them down into these foothills open space zones. There's 6 or 7 of them. And the one that was this is a work in progress, but this North Capitol area, if you're familiar with the Salt Lake City, it's right behind the Capitol. There was a lot of trails that were already being used. So we created this page using the AllTrails foundation or their resources. And that what we did is, because as we know, AllTrails it doesn't tell you trails, it tells you outings. So we picked 5 outings that we felt would represent a nice example of what you could do, since there hadn't been a lot of wayfinding in the past. So there's 5 different outings we designated, from the Ensign Peak Loop, which is a trail here. And for each one, we gave it a quick little 2 to 3 sentence description, a photo, and then a digital link, which actually goes to the AllTrails page. And it's the link, because if you go onto AllTrails, sometimes there's 2 or 3 of the same thing. So we just designated and worked with CC and Pitt and their team to make sure we had the right outing or the right recording, whatever. And then we also took advantage to download, because there's still a lot of folks out there in the newer user group who want to print their maps, to do a link to a digital map, a printable map, so that someone at home can print it before they go. And for using the maps that AllTrails has is a lot more affordable than for us to go hire a cartographer and do this exactly the way we want it. And because, as we do know as well, there's a lot of these other trails on there that we don't want on the map. Like this guy here is technically not a trail we want, but we just are doing the best we can and using this example of Ensign Peak Loop and sharing where people to go. So we did that with different, just to educate the community on different things that they can do, and then linking trailheads and stuff like that. So AllTrails has been a good partner for us with that. And then when we send people to, one of the questions we had coming in was like, when you go into AllTrails publicly and to type in, Salt Lake City Trails, they send you to someplace, 10 miles south of here, or something that the algorithm is sending them to. So we were able to curate a more desired landing page that we can then publicize in our newsletters and through social media to get people to come to the trails we want them to go to.
Thanks, Tyler. I appreciate it. So yeah, I think it's just important to see, right, the flexibility of this. And I think what's most important as well is we're not asking everybody to put links to AllTrails back to them, but if it works for your organization to ease your use in communicating that, and then causing, with that, you have the confidence that the information is correct because you have control of it on the back end. So you're not setting a link that you don't have control over to what that information is sharing to the public. I think that's kind of the ultimate goal here, right? Is you build confidence, or we help build confidence, and you have confidence in the content on AllTrails that then you're willing to obviously, use it or share it as needed, or it can be a resource for people instead of you having to build out your own content, or a lot of people explore building their own apps, or doing all the web work that then is hard to update themselves and things like that. So again, if it can be a resource in that case, I'm Tyler, if you'll stop sharing your screen, I'm going to share a couple more slides. There we go. And just answer one or two more questions here. There was a question about geofencing on, can you get just a part of like a bigger thing? Totally capable of that. A lot of, we do that a lot with the Forest Service. We don't get, nobody wants to see the entire forest. They want to see a district. So we're able to easily cut up like, hey, we're giving you permissions to just look at this district as opposed to the entire forest. Or again, same thing with like a lot of communities where there's cross-jurisdictional across it, right? Like some of it's county land, some of it's city land, some of it's federal land, and we can easily assign to the trails that are just what you have jurisdiction over. So to wrap up here, right? Again, the takeaway here is by partnering with AllTrails, like our goal is that we help you understand trail usage with our users. We help you to better manage the visitor experience and use this as a tool to help communicate to the public, and then resources to connect with the public, obviously, with important, pertinent information that keeps them safe and helps them have the best experience. We heard from them. So as I mentioned, Cece's going to drop a link in there into the chat. We are hosting these trailhead talks on a quarterly basis. So our first one is next week. And this is with the Moab Trail team. So if you want to hear more in depth, kind of what Tyler did, but even more in depth with what Grand County has been doing with it, in combination with their Trail Steward program and everything else, highly recommend signing up for this. Get on it. We'll be hosting these, like I say, quarterly. If you have a similar experience, you don't have to be a partner. What we're trying to do is create a space where like-minded individuals and trail management and things like that can get together and share ideas. So if you have another program you've been using, perhaps you had an interesting case study or something that you've done the last few years that you want to share with the broader public, reach out to me, let us know, and we can set that up for future months down the year, and we'll help spread the word to all of our partners and all of our contacts across the country, for you to give you an opportunity to share as well. If you have any questions, here's my information. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can also go to publiclands.alltrails.com. So this is where you're going to see a quick snapshot of all this information we talked about today. You're going to be able to see the case studies so you can get more information on the impacts and how it's affected other partners. And if you want to sign up or you want to start to get more information on this, to go down that road, this is where you do it, is at publiclands.alltrails.com. We basically the process, just to give you a better idea of this, since we have just a minute or two left, the process for signing up is all you gotta have prepared is like a list of your trails, or you have a shape file, or you have something like that. So when you sign up, we can assign permissions to your trail specifically, and then from there you'll get assigned an account manager who will be the person there to help you with edits, help you with maybe answering some more questions specific to certain trails, all of that. And you'll get that kind of one-on-one service from them to help you through this process as well. We don't just send you out to the Wild West, like sign up and then good luck editing or good luck, doing what you need to do. We'll help you through that process as well. If you're interested, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Email with questions. You can set up a meeting. We can talk more about it, whatever works for you. Cool. one more question I appreciate. How do you decide who qualifies to be a part of the program? That is a loose question. I mean, if I like you, you get to be part of. No, I'm just kidding. The reality is, right, if you manage trails, or you already have an existing relationship with the trail management agency. So again, if you're a nonprofit that already works with the Forest Service or something like that, that's really all you need to do to qualify. If you're a concerned citizen that just thinks they need to go in and edit trails in their neighborhood, we probably won't give you access to that. You know, we try to keep the vigilantes to a minimum and keep this coming from the source as much as possible, or the partners of the source. So that's how we kind of establish that. All right, I think I answered all the questions, got through all the slides. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Hope to hear from you soon, and hope to see you all out on a trail soon as well. And with that, I'll pass it back to Emma.
Thank you so much, Pitt, and thanks, John and Cece, for answering questions in the chat during that presentation. And looks like Tyler dropped off, but if you want to send a thank you to him as well for me, Pitt. Yeah, and thank you everyone for joining the speaker series. We're gonna draw a name now for anyone who entered question into the chat. And they're on cute cat post-its. That's just an extra special. I'm not supposed to look. No. What am I doing? Okay. And Katie Wallace. Katie, if you want to throw your email into the chat, that way we have that, and we'll reach out to you and let you know how we'll get that prize to you. Again, thank you everyone so much for coming. Keep a lookout for more of these. If you have any questions or any input on these virtual meetings, just, yeah, go ahead and send that email to outdoorteam@utah.gov. Thank you guys so much.